this video, I'm going to show you how to merge data together based on specific columns. So for me, this is a function that I use like daily in my work. So the first thing we're going to do is get some data. So I'm going to do df, I'm going to do df1 and set that to data.frame, and then I'm going to pull a data set that is already in R, so it's state.x77, and we're going to run that. We're going to get this 50 observations by 8 variables, and then we're going to run df2, and we're going to get data.frame, and we're going to go ahead and pull another data set that's already in here that should be US arrests. So we're going to go ahead and get that, and when we run that, we get another 50 observations. So if we open up both of these, we can see that this is just data based on the state. So these are arrests, and these are just general stats about the state. So if you wanted to compare like the population compared to arrest or things like this, you would need to merge these together. And luckily, these are actually organized in the same way. But if they weren't, meaning that each row would actually be correct here. But if they weren't, you can't really just use cbind if this was organized or sorted by population. So if we did like sort df1 population, so in this case, we can do this a few different ways. So we have our df1 and df2. So what we can do is I'm going to say just df, and I'm going to set this to df1, and then I'm going to use the pipe operator, and I'm going to go ahead and use the function that we're going to use, which is merge. And then in the parentheses, we need to put in the new data set that we are going to merge. So I'm going to use df2 is what we're going to merge, and then we're going to use by. And by is going to either be a column name, or in this case, we're going to be using by equals 0 to tell it that we want to use this row names instead of a column name. So if I run this with Control Enter, you can see I now get df, which is 50 observations of 13 variables. So I have my row names here, which I can change this. This is now a column. And then I have all of my data where I know that the Alabama from this one and the Alabama from this one actually was synced up here. It's not, even if the rows were different, even if this was sorted in a different way, it actually looked for to match Alabama to Alabama. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a df3, and I'm going to do, this is going to be df1, but we're going to change this to row names to column, just so that we can actually have that as a column, so I can show you how to do that. And we're going to say this is row names to column of df1, and then we're going to make df4 is a row names to column of df2. So make sure that runs. If you can see here, the only real difference, right, is we have this row name here instead of having it in the actual row name. So what we're going to do now is we can say df, I'm just going to say df new is equal to df3 pipe operator, and then a merge on df4, except now we can't use by equals 0 because the row names here are just 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't know if they're separate, if they are actually sorted in the exact same way. So instead we want to use by equals, and then in quotations we're going to put row names. And I'm just going to double check. So row name singular is what both of them are. So you do want to make sure that both of your tables, the easiest way to do it is to make sure that both of your tables have the exact same name for the column you want to combine on. So we're going to say to merge on row name, and use Control Enter to run that. And I made a mistake here in my spelling, so it's merge, not merger. And this should be a equals, not a dash. Sorry, guys. So if I go to df new now, you can see this row name got merged on, and we have all of this data out here. And so one thing you can see here is we actually have two murders. So murder.x means that it's keeping this came from the first data set. So you can see this came from df3 and the murder.y came from df4. So if two columns have the same name, it is going to add this .x and .y as a signifier for this. So now I want to show you something, and we need to create a new data set for this. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my variables. So this is going to allow me to clear the variables of my environment real quick so that I can call something new. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a new df, and I'm going to set this equal to data.frame of state.x77. And then I'm going to use the pipe operator, and I'm going to go ahead and filter to where the, let's filter on something. What do we want to filter on? So let's look at state.x77. And so let's filter on population. So we're only going to have the population over 1,000 real quick. So let's go ahead and create df equals data.frame of state x77. And then we're going to filter with population is greater than 1,000. So I'm going to press enter. I just had an error in that, so I put date instead of data. There it goes. So now we have 38 observations. So we've removed 12 of our actual rows. We've removed 12 states. So what we're going to do is create df1, and we're just going to set that to that data.frame of US arrests. So this now has 50. And so what's important when we are working with these is to know how to do, in SQL it's called left and right or outer and inner joins. In R, you do this all through the same command merge. And so what we want is to merge this, and this is one case where these are not going to be in the same order. So there'd be no way for us to use the cbind method here and actually get this correct. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to do what's known as a left join. So this means we're going to pull all data from the left data frame and only matching data from the right or second data frame. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and do df left is going to be set to, and we're going to use df as our first or our left data frame, and then we're going to merge on df1, and we're still going to do by equals 0. I haven't converted these off of row names, so that's fine. We can use it as the row name. But now what we want to do is we want to make sure that everything in these 38 is reported. And if it doesn't have a matching value in this, then it just is an NA. Now we know from this data that everything would have a matching value anyways, but just for the point of observation, I'm going to go ahead and run this. So what we need to run is we're going to say all.x equals true. So what this is saying is keep everything from that first database whenever you're running it. So if we do Control Enter, we get df left, and that has 38 observations of these 12 variables. And because none of this had missing data, we can see that we're good there. So now what we can do is a write. So I'm going to go ahead and do right join. And so this is going to pull everything from the second one, even if it doesn't have a match in the first. So let's do df right. And this is going to be df, and I'm going to keep the location of these the same, because if I switched which database I was calling first and second, this would basically end up with the exact same data frame as the last one. So if I come here and I'm going to do merge df1, the by equals 0 is the same, and then I'm going to do all dot y equals true. So what I'm doing here is the x refers to that first data frame, and down here the y refers to the second data frame. So it's saying even though this df1 has 50 observations and df only has 38 observations, I still want you to bring in all 50 observations, just don't match the data. Just put an NA for any data that doesn't have a match. So when we run this, you can see that we get this, and this now has 50 observations of 13 variables. When we open it, you can see that we just get NAs where there wasn't a match. So Alaska had a population below 1,000, and so it was not included in this DF. And so you can see it has the NAs here, but it still kept that data, where our DF left actually excluded that data. There is no Alaska in here because it only kept the original 38. It didn't keep all 50. So then we can do what's known as an inner and an outer join. So if we have an inner join, this means it only keeps rows that match. So this is the default. DF inner is really simply what we did originally. So we just do df and then we do merge df1 by equals 0. And if we run this, we're going to get only those with matches. So you're not going to see any NAs in this database. Even if the left one, so whenever we did df left, that had, these are identical databases, but if the left one had things that the right one didn't have, you still would not see it in this database here, or in this data frame here. So df inner is only going to give us what is actually inside both. And then we have the final one, which is outer join. And this keeps everything. So it's going to keep everything from the first and the second, whether there are matches or not. So we're going to do df outer. And this is going to be df with our pipe operators. We're going to do merge df1 by equals 0 is still the same. And then we're going to do all dot x equals true. And we're going to do another one, which is all dot y equals true. So this means keep everything. Keep everything from x and everything from y, whether it has a match or not. If we do control enter, so sorry, small typo in that it's all equals true now instead of all dot x and all dot y. So you can do all equals true, and that's going to be an outer join. So if we run that, we get this df outer, and now you can see that this mirrors that df right, and that it's going to keep everything in this new data frame that's created. So that is overall how you can merge by using a specific column as kind of an anchoring point. If you're in the course, next we're going to talk about how to do it if you need to merge off of multiple columns.